Hello and welcome back to Desert DIY. Today I have this side table makeover for you. If you were watching on my community tab, I had a vote for the color on this piece, and the color that got the most votes in the time limit was, ooh, you're gonna have to wait to find out. So I'm about to get started on this piece, and the first thing that I'm going to do is remove the ugly, weird cabinet doors. A lot of you had said to do something about those weird doors, and I think what I'm actually going to do is just take them out. This piece has way too much going on for it. Lots of weird details, and it's just way too much. It's visually stressful looking at this piece. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to apply some wood filler on the drawer. Well, hello, birds! But I'm going to fill in the weird detail on the drawer as well. So while I'm getting the handle off and taking the doors off, I just wanted to mention that at the end of this video, I have another vote for you guys to vote on about this piece. It's something fun, and I'll give my answer in the comments section down below. These screws were square head screws. These are not very common, therefore most people do not have these tools on hand, and they are very frustrating. Let me just say that right now. Thankfully, my husband had this drill bit that was the perfect size. The size on it was called S1, which is for square 1. I don't have any reason for you as to why somebody would use this type of screw when they build something other than to make people go nuts. Now that that's done, I'm going to use this wood filler. It's a Minwax high performance wood filler, and it's a two-part system. I'm going to say right off the bat, this is not for beginners, and I would not recommend this product. This was my very first time ever using it, and it was a lot like doing some kind of Bondo or JB Weld on something you would be doing on a vehicle. And you have to mix the wood filler with a hardener, and it says you have 15 minutes to work with it. Well, that was not true. I mixed it together, and within less than 5 minutes it was already hardening, and as you can see, when I first opened it, the product had separated, and I had to mix it for a really long time, and it was really thick, thicker than peanut butter, and it was exhausting. It was just not a good product overall. I will never use this again, but this is what I had on hand, and it was the only product I had currently that would fill the amount of wood that I needed to fill in for this project. So I just had to go with it, and I thought maybe I could figure it out as I was going, but it just wasn't a good product in my opinion. So I just used a popsicle stick and pulled some out and put it into this little bowl that they have for you to mix the product together. And then once you have the amount you think you're going to need, you go ahead and mix in the hardener, and it says you're supposed to mix in 1 part of the hardener for 16 parts for the wood filler. How in the world are you supposed to measure that? That's the weirdest thing. That's another reason why I didn't like this. So I thought maybe I had used too much hardener, and that's why it had hardened too fast. So going through this whole process, I had done a couple different mixes, and one mix took 2 hours to dry instead of 15 minutes, and the other mix dried instantly and hardened instantly, and it was just awful. I just really can't say it enough that I did not like working with this product. I will just stick with my old-fashioned wood filler that comes in a tube. I swear that stuff is foolproof. It works really well. And I've also heard of people using Bondo, like car Bondo that you would be using to fill in dents or dings on vehicles. That is a two-part system, but you have a longer time to work with it than 15 minutes. It doesn't harden on you like this did. So I would never use this again. But it was easy to get it in there because the product was really liquidy after you put the hardener in, which is very strange. And I did my best getting it all in there. I had to layer it on, which is normal for any kind of wood filler. When you're using wood filler, you want to layer it on because it will start to shrink inside the gaps and holes. So you have to put a second layer over to make sure that it covers the parts that shrunk. And I'll just let you see the amount of work it took for me to get those weird filigree swirly things to be covered up, but it was worth it. And when you see the end result, you'll be happy that I went through all this trial and error to get this looking nice and flat and even for this part of the drawer. like we had all said in the comments on the vote for this table, side table, bedside table, whatever you want to call it, just had way too much going on. Way too many details. It just didn't know what it wanted to be when it grew up. I don't know how else to explain it. Once everything was dry, I did my best to sand it all even, although there were some spots that were not perfect. I'm not going to lie to you because I want you to learn from what I learned from. Since there were spots that dried super fast and spots that dried really slowly, there was just a weird texture to it. And I did the best I could with my sander, and I used 120 grit because I had to really sand through quite a big layer. And not only that, I didn't want it to be too gritty of a sandpaper, not like 80 grit or something like that, because then it would have left a really bad texture behind. So I just used 120 grit and got off all of the weird shaped parts that I had created with that terrible product. Then I just go over the whole entire piece with the 120 grit sandpaper and rough it up to get it ready to be primed. I'm telling you that I am priming it because I don't want you to think that I painted it white. Although there were quite a few of you that did vote for white, it did not win, so I had to go ahead and prime for the color that did get chosen. So right now I'm just going over it with my air hose and blowing off all the extra air from my air compressor, and I had to go back and turn the air up because I only had it at 50 psi at first and that just wasn't cutting it, so I bumped it up to 100 psi. And I'm really in the market for a new compressor. My compressor is huge and really loud and doesn't keep up very well when I'm spraying with my spray gun. So if you know of a really good compressor that works with painting like I'm doing right now, I would really love to hear about it in the comments below, because I am just sick of the one I have. It's just not meant for what I'm using it for. So now I'm priming it. I'm just using a Clark & Kensington brand flat white paint, and I like to use these more expensive brand paints because it goes on so much better. If you use cheaper paint, you end up using more paint. Not only is that more time that you have to spend outside sweating your butt off, but it is also more money in the long run because you're gonna have to buy twice as much paint. So anytime I can save myself time, I will, especially if it's gonna end up being the same amount of money in the end. Something that's much quicker is always going to be my choice. And I think a lot of you probably could agree with that. And of course, if you didn't notice already, I always start upside down and work my way straight from the top down afterwards. And since I am doing this primer in the beginning, I cannot put it upside down again because then I would be messing up the primer that I have on the top. Okay guys, it is time to reveal the paint color that you guys voted on. Although a lot of you could probably already tell by the amount of votes for this particular color which one ended up being chosen. Two were very close, but this one won. So here is the reveal. Oh, it doesn't want to open. Ta-da! Turquoise won. This color is called Mexicali Turquoise by, what is the name of that brand? Benjamin Moore. That's who it's by. I cannot wait to hear what you guys think of this color. A lot of you were like really excited about turquoise. I would never have picked this color myself just because I am usually doing neutrals, and I am so glad that I put this vote out for you guys because it got me out of my comfort zone, and that is what being an artist is about, and that is what doing crafts and DIYing things is all about, is getting out of your comfort zone and trying new things that you thought you may or may not have liked or may or not have been good at before. And now I'm going to just take some 220 grit sandpaper and do a light sanding to kind of smooth out the paint finish. When I paint in the summer, it dries almost instantly as soon as it hits the piece, so sometimes that leaves a bit of a gritty finish on there or a rough feeling from the paint. And for the faux finish, I'm going to put over this that some of you suggested and I saw some inspiration from on Pinterest. I'm going to use some clear wax and really lather it on there. Tons and tons of this clear wax because I'm going to go over it again with that dark wax that I just showed you. So that is going to create an antique look and also kind of like a bohemian sort of look. And I don't know exactly how to explain this because it could go totally Southwest style, it could be country style, it could be bohemian style. It really is a versatile type of faux finish. Here's that dark wax I was talking about, and I'm just going to use a tiny little paintbrush and use it to get deep down in the crevices of all the details of this piece. And times like these, I am so glad that I got rid of those cabinet doors that were on here, because that would have just been a ridiculous amount of this work right here and this product. It wouldn't have looked good. It just would have still been way too much going on. So you just go ahead and take that little paintbrush and paint in all these little crevices, and then go back over it with a rag, a lint-free rag. That's very important that it's lint-free. And when you do that, you take off the excess while still leaving behind a little bit of an aged color, but the most important part is that you're leaving behind a lot more of that wax inside all the little details. And it makes the little details just pop against that bright turquoise color. Again, thank you guys so much for voting, and I'm really excited to do this again on my next piece. So please stay tuned on my community tab. Keep an eye out, because I will be doing more votes like these. And one of the main reasons I want to do it is just because I love the fact that you guys got me trying things I've never tried before. I've never done a finish like this, especially not in this color or with this type of antiquing, and it turned out beautiful. And one little hack I learned as I was going is you can take the clear wax again and go back over it and get rid of any spots that were too dark. That helps to kind of blend it. Now here are the handles I got. These are cup pulls that I bought off of Amazon, and they're about 50 cents a piece when you buy them in bulk. If you are somebody who does a lot of projects, I highly recommend buying these on Amazon, and I will have them linked to my Amazon store down below, and then you can just spray paint them any color you want to match any of your projects. You cannot beat 50 cents a piece for this antique style cup pull. Here it is, guys. So the last thing I need you to vote on is, does this remind you of a mermaid or a genie? Tell me your answer down below in the comments. I'll leave my answer down below as well so you can see what I think. But this has already found its new home, and I just want to say thank you all again so much for voting. This was really fun, and I can't wait to do it again. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!